Saleh Sabri is the undertaker of Herat. Herat is a Yemeni smuggling town on the border with Saudi Arabia. For centuries, the town has thrived on gun running and drug smuggling. Now, the commodity is people. Today, Saleh is burying an Ethiopian, another migrant found dead at the border.
كم أعد لي 200 3 4 كم مليان اللي رصاص في الحدود اللي مشنوق اللي يعني ضرب هذا جناية لأنه البحث بيدي لي قضايا جناية يدخل الثلاجة وفاة طبيعي مقبرة.
The journey that ends in death for so many begins here, 500 kilometres to the south. This man is a people trafficker. He ferries migrants across the Red Sea. He says his smuggling ring will make $900 per migrant for the trip from Africa to the Saudi border, and that the Yemeni military profit directly from the trafficking trade.
قيادة الجيش، قيادة الأمن السياسي، قيادة الأمن العام تأخذ أجرتها معها مندوب لكي نواصل العمل. إذا ما تخالفنا أو ما أعطيناها الحق هذا يأذن إحنا يقطعكم يأخذ إحنا.
He carries around 40 people in his boat. If he can sell the migrants on, each trip could be worth up to $36,000. The migrants risk dehydration and exposure. Some boats are so full that they suffocate. Other smugglers are waiting on the beach.
ثم إيصالهم إلى الجيزان. هذا ترانزيت 3500 كامل إلى الحدود السعودية.
Nearly 10,000 people arrive on these shores every month, drawn by the prospect of a better life. But the land they now have to cross is filled with instability and danger. Criminal gangs roam freely. Robbery, abuse and sexual exploitation are commonplace. And migrants face being caught, tortured and sold for profit. The migrants come ashore with nothing but the cash they have left in their pockets. These migrants are being arrested by soldiers. They will be taken to Red Cross camps. But most migrants get through, and some of the soldiers they meet work with people smugglers.
جبت سينماتا وجبت بحر قبطن زي من كلاش يجي تقبلها شنجي بس انتنا عدلهم.
We found Haile in a refugee camp. He says the migrants are robbed when they come ashore. Those that have money are released to continue their journey. Those that don't are kidnapped by the smugglers. He says there were many migrants there. Everyone was tortured until their families paid.
لعند بيتها بالنتني لم دقنزو نيميام سلازي እሱ አቃጥሎና ብዙ ስቃይ አሳለፍኩኝ በቃ ተንጠለጠልኩና እንትን ሆነ.
Ethiopian brokers had sold Haile the promise of well-paid work in Saudi Arabia. Instead, he spent 20 days in what's known as a torture camp. Getting past the thugs on the beach is just the first step in this extraordinary journey. Saudi Arabia is still a 500-kilometre walk through the desert. We met these migrants on their way to the border town of Herat. They've been walking for 40 days. It's too dangerous to travel at night, so they must walk the 500 kilometres in the heat of the day, when temperatures reach the mid-40s in the shade. And where are you going?
Saudi.
What do you expect to find when you get there?
في المزرعة ولا بقر ولا إبل ولا غنم كله على كيف.
Have you had any trouble so far making this journey?
أيوة يمسكوا يفتشوا هنا قدام يروح ما في زفل إلا على طول الزفل يروح تعال يقول له بعدين هنا يسوي يجلس بعدين يسوي تفتيش يشيل فلوس.
Who took your money and where did this happen?
في شيبة يأتي في شيبة كبير مطوع بعدين يشيل شباب كله شباب يسوي تفتيش يسوي كوف يدربوا كلام بعدين يشوفوا.
The number of migrants entering Yemen has increased fivefold in the last 5 years. Yemen is a failing state. The turbulence of the Arab Spring led to the ousting of the president and an erosion of government power. In this vacuum, gangs of kidnappers and torturers seem to operate at will. Haftan Ika made the journey with a group of friends from home. They came looking for work, hoping to help support their families. His father was told he needed to pay $300 to release him. His father had to borrow the money and then wire it to the kidnappers. These exclusive pictures show the inside of a torture camp. The footage was shot by Médecins Sans Frontières after a nighttime raid by Yemeni authorities in April. Over 1,600 migrants were freed in a series of raids. Many had been beaten, some had had their fingernails pulled out, or their tongues partially cut off. Others said they had been beaten with pipes, burned with cigarettes, or had liniment poured in their eyes. The new gang that now had Haftan wanted another $250. His father couldn't borrow any more money. None of the families could. Haftan is 23. He will never walk again. Haftan, like Haile, is now at this camp in Herat. Inside these walls, the migrants are safe. The camp is full of people who have been tortured. These migrants now just want to go home. Some of them will be repatriated soon, a cause for celebration. Efta is 17. She was told to make the journey by her father to find work and send money back. Asma on the right is 16. She wanted to join her sisters in Saudi. Both Efta and Asma spent time in torture camps. This centre is run by the International Organization for Migration. The IOM will arrange for the documents and flights that will get the girls home.
It is a humanitarian crisis. I think the main thing that we need to provide them with is a voluntary return. Everybody wants to go to their country of origin. They are shocked by the reality that they have faced.
There is no support, even at the mortuary.
أواجهها مشاكل تعرفها ثلاجة ما فيش تعب كهرباء ثلاجة واحد 6 دراج 6 دراج فيه 40 إيش سوي
Yemen has other priorities. It's fighting 2 insurgencies that have displaced tens of thousands. International aid is mainly directed towards them and the 200,000 Somali refugees in the south. So the undertaker of Harad must cope with the dead on his own. But he still washes and prepares the bodies in the traditional way.
معقولة تجارة يعني موظف بسيط وبعدين مسؤول ثلاجة هذه مسؤوليتي أنا اللي كبر مسكين مجهول يعني أجنبيين يمنيين كله أنا متحمل هذا أجر كله لله.
The migrants in the town converge on the IOM camp every night. There is only space for a few hundred inside, but in the evenings, many more come to the main gate in the hope of getting a meal. Every night, the camp struggles to cope. There is tension when the food runs out. People are hungry and they can't feed everyone. Thousands sleep just outside the camp's walls. Some of the migrants have come because the rains have failed in Ethiopia. Others say they face persecution at home, but most told us that they came because brokers spread tales of wealth and opportunity across the Red Sea. Kasai tells me the brokers flaunt cars and jewellery, then take their cut from the money paid to the people smugglers.
The brokers told us in Saudi Arabia there is a nice job and they can improve your life. They said there isn't any problem when we travel. There isn't any problem. You can reach Saudi Arabia with any problem. By the way, they are businessmen, those brokers.
And you are the commodity?
Yeah, it is as a commodity.
Do you want to go to Saudi Arabia now?
Yeah. No, I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia. Now, I want to go to Ethiopia.
Yeah, you all want to go home?
Yes, we want. Yes, we want to go home.
This is the Saudi border. These mountains, the final barrier to the promised land. Behind the ridges are thermal imaging cameras, electric fencing and the flood-lit security barrier. It is now an almost impossible crossing.
አይደለም ለም ትገባለህ አንተ ሌላ ሰራተኛ ነው ብለን የደበደቡኝ የሮጥ ደግሞ መግደል ነው እንደዚህ
Haile had survived the torture camp. He'd walked 500 kilometers across the desert. He was almost there.
ሄጄ ሮጥኩኝ ብሮጥ ደግሞ ከ2 ሰዓት 3 ሰዓት ያዙኝ ከሱ በኋላ ያዙን ሳቸው ለዛ ፈሰጂኝ አንጠለጥለኝ ደበደቡኝ ሁለተኛ ሰቀለው ጣሉኝ ሳቸውም ጣሉና ፈቱና ሄዱ ሌላ ወታደር መጥቶ ወሰደኝ ለሕክምና
Haile hung from that tree for 2 days. He remembers very little of those 48 hours, but he thinks it was soldiers who cut him down and drove him to a Saudi hospital. He was so badly injured that when he awoke, doctors had amputated his left arm. He thinks his friends are probably dead. There is no sign that the trade in people is diminishing. People trafficking in Yemen is worth tens of millions of dollars. In this part of the country, it's a major part of the economy.
Human trafficking is one of the most profitable businesses in the world now, and if you can see the numbers, it seems that there is big business going on. I have personally asked one of the kids here, how much did it take for him to get here, and he says $400. And if you're looking at thousands of people, and you look at the amount of money that's going back and forth, it must have been huge for these numbers to be here.
This is an enormous international business. People smuggling generates profit at every stage of the journey. Everyone has a stake, from the Ethiopian brokers through the Yemeni military to the guards at the Saudi border. So stopping this will require serious international effort. For the moment, those efforts are just beginning. But still the Ethiopians come. 40,000 migrants arrived in Yemen during the first 5 months of this year. Those new migrants will still head for the Saudi border. Smugglers will try to take them. Torture gangs will try to kidnap them. And Saleh will continue to bury the dead.